What's up, guys? Welcome to the Theory Lounge. You notice that I changed my music. I have certain reasons for that. Certain people will know, but I'd rather not speak of it right now. In any case, it's about time that sorry about that. I had to go do something, but now I am back. So, today, I am going to be doing certain, well, you could say, theories disclosed. Now, the theory I am going to finally get down and put out once and for all with plenty of evidence to back me up. Alright, first, let's get the Foxy caused the bite of 87 incident. Alright, first of all, let's remember the location of the bite of 1987. Second restaurant, remember? So, if we had to say the least likely people to animatronics people, whatever, have caused it, we can definitely say for sure that we can rule out any animatronic that was not in the main play area. What do I mean by main play area? Well, basically, how would I explain it? Main play area, you remember the map, right? In the entire map, the back room was sealed off during the day. Now, I'm going to make the argument that all the locks in the place have automated locks. What are automated locks, you may ask? Those kind of locks are made to basically go and lock themselves after you close it, and or lock and not open unless a certain key, let's say the master key, opens it. And also, the automated lock-in is activated all day, but then unlocked at night. So you can go to it at night to fix the animatronics. So if we put that into question, that would mean that Foxy couldn't even get out of there. And that would also make sense of why nobody else went to the back room. Because that's why I get for doing that. Because basically the only people that could probably get into that specific room are people that repair animatronics and the actual owner of the restaurant and or restaurant chain at the time. Oh, and please don't forget, the bite of 87 happened during hours. If not, then Phone Guy would have had mentioned it at that time. So, if it was happened during hours, most likely the door couldn't have opened to the other animatronics to be able to cause such a disheartening event. Oh, and by the way, Fredbear didn't cause it. That restaurant chain was open at 1983. And that would have to be 6 years before the actual incident. Where's my said evidence to prove my theory there? Well, let's look at the TV in said house when you do play the game. Click it enough times and the house would show you a commercial. And in the commercial, it has a year dated 1983. Now, this is very peculiar and can be very, what's the word I'm looking for? Refutable in the argument? Basically what I'm saying is that you could definitely say that that commercial is old and they're playing a recording on the TV. And if that is true, then I guess you could say that. I guess you could say that, but that wouldn't make any sense. If that was a commercial for the place, why would they have the date in 1983? If we can say that's the time they opened. That wouldn't make any sense. Because, well, we know that Fredbear and Spring Bonnie were the Spring animatronics. Why am I mentioning the Springlock animatronics at this time? Well, remember the multiple Springlock failures? Well, Just think about it. There's spring lock animatronics. Do you expect... It says a kind of wordplay here. Multiple spring lock failures either mean multiple spring suits malfunctioned had multiple times, or there are multiple spring locks in one suit, and they all failed, or part of the suit's spring locks failed. And that would actually make plausible sense. I mean, think about it. Why would you only have one spring lock in the suit? That would have to be a pretty sturdy and pretty large one to hold the skeleton back and to be able to keep it going for a while. But I'm gonna mention one more thing. When are the spring locks actually activated? I think I'm gonna contradict myself here. When the actual spring locks mechanism is activated, then well, that means that's when it's in suit mode. They're on then. But when it's in animatronic form, the spring locks aren't being used at all. So, what could have caused the spring locks to go off during animatronic form? It can't! They're not being used at that time. So, yeah, that can't be the case. So the case with that is, there was a malfunction with the animatronic itself, not the spring locks, which means that it can be multiple spring lock failures thanks to that. But there is evidence that people have died thanks to them. Thanks to Games Theory's game channel, it was obvious that the Fredbear and Spring Bonnie both are connected to Shadow Bonnie and Shadow Freddy. Why do I say that? Well, let's just give you the simple of it, sorry. Golden Freddy and Fredbear are the same animatronic, not different. Why do I say that? In his decommission and aging in the second game can be tied into Spring Bonnie's decaying. We can say that his and Spring Bonnie's decaying can be pretty much the same. And he would be in worse state if you saw him in the really saw him in the first game. That is just an Easter egg to the game. It doesn't actually happen. But thanks to Scott, he did, so we can't disclude it to it being it. So we can just say that it is a spirit, and that's it. It's not a suit at all, it's just a spirit that took on the form, but it just looked a bit more new. So, why do I say it's a malfunction with the animatronics themselves? Well, in the minigame, it's quite obvious that he bit down. But where on the children? Or it could be non-malfunction at all when I think about it again. When you think about it, his entire head is put into the animatronic. But how do we know how big the animatronic's head is compared to the little kids? So I'm going to be throwing out this here. The kid that puts the kid into the animatronic, let's say is about 8 to 10. That would be reasonable with his height compared to the adult. That would mean that the little kid's head would have to be. That means that the little kid's height would be accurate with the age group of 3 to 5, making his head pretty small. And if we don't know the size of Golden Freddy's head or Fredbear's head, their same animatronic, whatever, well, you can tell by Freddy himself. This might not make sense, but Freddy and Fredbear are made from the same design but look different, and the mechanics in them act differently. But Fredbear and Freddy are basically the same thing. So we can definitely say that one is they're both pretty much the same size, but with just minor differences in the mechanical design. So, if we look at the actual FNAF 2 jump scare, keep in mind they're pretty much the same minor difference. They're pretty much the same model same model at that time. So, don't be contradicting me there. If you look at it, I think if you had to judge it, the mouth would have to be big enough to pack actual little kid's head into it, but not a kid at the age group of 6 to 10, but enough at 3 to 5, making sense of why the party was thrown at a pizzeria. That would make sense. So, basically what I'm saying is that little kid's head was put in the animatronic. But how was he injured? His head's too small to be squishy at that point. The injury wasn't to the head. Remember, this is 1983. So, the injury was a neck injury, causing him to die, which means that's not the bite of 87. If it was, then Scott would have made it more visible that the front of the head, his forehead, was being bitten, not more of his neck area. So that is my theory on that, is closing Fredbear or Golden Freddy to be the culprit. Now, my evidence for Foxy not being the culprit, people said he was the culprit due to his broken jaw. Now, how can you say it was a broken jaw? Well, first of all, his mouth is opened a lot during the game, so that's where their evidence lies. I mean, I would say that Foxy does have a working jaw in the first game. In the beginning of the jump scare, it opens. But, again, no. In the second game, it's the same thing. It opens at the beginning. So, during those 2 times, his jaw is completely unbroken. And his mouth is not big enough to hold the frontal lobe. Evidence to Scott's findings. Not Scott. Due to Smike's findings. He's 4'8". Alright, we'll take that into consideration. The frontal lobe victim. Most likely an adult. Why do I say so? They would have said it was most likely somebody belonging to the company. Because somebody was shifted to day shift. That would be Jeremy. So Jeremy's most likely our victim. So, if we take into consideration a regular human's height to Foxy's 4'8", which is reasonably about like a tween, that would mean that he's shorter than the regular adult, which is about in the 5'5" or something like that. So yeah, Foxy couldn't be it because he couldn't reach by simple findings. Who is the culprit though? The culprit is simply Mangled. Mangled actually has the ability to go on the ceiling and attack you from above in the second game. But Gambit, you say? How could that be possible? Aren't they supposed to be only active during the night? Well, not exactly. They still move around, so it's not a pretty big assumption to say that Mangled can move around some too, when she is not being put together and disentangled. So yeah, when not being tangled or dismembered or something like that, she moved, went on the ceiling, and attacked Jeremy. Simple as that. And that is this closing argument to it. Foxy did not cause the bite of 87 due to all the evidence. And I also went on a tangent with Fredbear and Spring Bonnie, but sorry, there's a bit aside for ya, you know? So then, roll the credits.